Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chill Review coming back again with another video. Definitely a little bit of a daunting task ahead of me. Adult Swim has been a network on Cartoon Network for about 20 something years now, so there's definitely way too many shows actually to rank. I did not realize how much I feel like I bit off a little bit more than I can chew. I guess you could say with this one. Did not realize how many shows there had been, especially recently. Shows that I'd never even heard of before. I thought I knew like everything about Adult Swim, but it turns out I got some blind spots here and there. But so we have our tier list here. I have what I believe to be every original Adult Swim show. So there are a lot of anime to not like on the Tsunami block that have aired over the last 20 years or so. A lot of like shows like Family Guy from other networks that come over to Adult Swim. But we're not going to be talking about those. These are only the shows that were created specifically on Adult Swim, specifically for Adult Swim. So we have a list of way too many shows to count. Just a lot of goddamn shows. So I want to put at least one tier for not familiar with your game. So these are the shows that I just don't know. You know, there's a lot of great shows that I'm sure will be put in this list that some people have seen and been like, oh, that's my favorite show ever. Why would you do this to me? Why would you insult me personally like this? But honestly, it's not an insult. It's not personal. I'm not familiar with their game. I don't know that show. So I can't, in all good consciousness and good faith, rank it. So, you know, I just had to put it in that bin. Yeah, so we have Kinda Ass. These are shows that are kinda ass. I don't think there aren't too many Adult Swim shows that I think are just straight up terrible. Like I can see the value in a lot of the different shows that I've seen over the course of the network's history. But there are ones that are just kind of shitty, you know what I mean? The ones that aren't really worth your time. And then the next tier that we're gonna make, this tier is shows that are solid. You know, they're not terrible. They're definitely not great either. They're just solid. Like a lot of Adult Swim shows I feel like are made to be very digestible, quick hitting things. Like, you know, you turn on the TV at 1:30 in the morning and then for 10 to 11 minutes, you watch some of the weirdest shit you've ever in your life. Like that's mostly what Adult Swim is made to be. So there are a lot of shows that are like that where it's just like, okay, this isn't Shakespeare. It's not the greatest masterpiece you've ever seen, but it's watchable for, you know, the 10 to 11 minutes that it airs. And then we have the certified banger tier. And these are the shows that I think are legitimately great shows, right? Like, again, Adult Swim is its own kind of unique vibe and aesthetic that a lot of other networks don't really have. So a lot of these certified bangers are more like Adult Swim specific, right? Like, I don't know if you could put them on other networks and they compete with other shows, but for what Adult Swim, like the vibe that Adult Swim is trying to get across to the viewer, I think these shows signify and symbolize that perfectly. So this is the certified banger tier, basically like A-tier shows. And then we have the essentials. And this tier is for what I believe to be the essential must-watch Adult Swim shows, the truly greats of the greats. Some of the best shows that I personally have ever seen, some of my favorite shows from my childhood, from my teenage years, and even my adulthood. The shows that I consider to be the essential must-watch, cannot miss classics of Adult Swim, right? The shows that truly symbolize and personify the network and all the great things that the network has to offer, right? So these are the shows that, like I said, all-time classics of Adult Swim that you've probably heard of, probably love, just like I love. And I think anyone who gets into Adult Swim and wants to know what Adult Swim is all about, these are the shows that you should be watching. Above the essentials, that's simply just the GOAT tier. These shows are what I consider to be the best of the best of the best, whatever that dude from Men in Black said.
The best of the best of the best, sir.
These are the best shows, I think, some of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Shows that I literally would not be the same person that I am right now without literally changed my life watching these shows. I reference these shows all the time. I watch these shows all the time. I have a lot of friends that I, you know, grew closer to through watching these shows with them. These are super important to me, both my childhood, like I said, my childhood, teenage years, adult years, everything like that. So I got to give it up to them and put them on their own tiers separate from even the essentials. Anyone who's watched this channel knows where this show is going. We're just going to go ahead and put the Boondocks right up here in GOAT. I feel like I don't need to go into this. I have an entire playlist of 8 different videos totaling in about 4 or 5 hours of content that explain all my feelings about this show. It's my favorite show of all time. I think it's easily the best show that Adult Swim has ever made and ever put on their network. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you want to know why I think it's the best ever, I got 8 videos about each individual season, about each individual element of the show, the music, the fights, everything, the characters, every episode ranked, all that kind of stuff. If you want to know why the Boondocks is so amazing, watch all those videos, and you'll definitely understand why I believe this show is so good. So we're just going to start with 12 Ounce Mouse. 12 Ounce Mouse is a show that I watched 1 or 2 times when I was younger, when it was airing. Thought it was okay. I can't really say much more than that. I didn't really give it much of a chance, honestly. I only watched a few episodes, but I'm gonna go ahead and, unfortunately for all the 12 Ounce Mouse fans out there, I'm gonna put it in kinda ass. It's not super ass. It's not the worst show ever made, but from what I saw, I was kind of like, you know, I feel like it's not worth really. I've never wanted to go rewatch 12 Ounce Mouse, I'll say that. So the next show is the first one, first of many, I'm sure, that we're going to go ahead and put in Not Familiar With Your Game, and that is Apollo Gauntlet. So apologies to Apollo Gauntlet and all its fans, however many may be out there. I've never heard of this show, never watched it. I think it's one of the newer shows, and I kind of fallen off from Adult Swim in my later years, more recent years. But I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but like I said, never seen it, can't really rate it in good faith. The next show though, I think everyone and their mother knows what this is. They maybe don't know what it is, but they've seen it referenced in some sort of pop culture show or anything like that. It's Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and it's going in GOAT. To me, it's the second best show ever on Adult Swim, or it's top 3 at least. And you have an argument. Aqua Teen Hunger Force has an argument for being the greatest show on Adult Swim of all time. It is the face of Adult Swim. Rick and Morty has kind of taken that mantle from it in recent years, but consider this. Adult Swim started, I believe, the week before or the week after 9/11, 2001. This show has been airing since either 2001 or 2002, maybe 2003, I don't know, but almost from the start of the network, it's been airing. They're still making new episodes of this show in 2024. It's the longest running Adult Swim show. It's the only Adult Swim show to have a theatrical released movie in theaters. A movie that's not very good, but hey, at least you can say that it was in theaters. It's definitely, it might be the GOAT, right? Like the Boondocks is the best show, but the Boondocks only has like 1 amazing season, 2 really good seasons in season 2 and 3, and then season 4 is we act like that doesn't exist. But Aqua Teen Hunger Force has like 17 seasons, 5 different spinoffs. I've lost track about how many spinoffs they've had. It's all basically the same thing at the end of the day, but I think it easily has to go down as the greatest Adult Swim show. So even though I think the Boondocks is better, I think there's an argument that, just an objective argument, that Aqua Teen Hunger Force is the greatest Adult Swim show of all time. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the GOAT tier at number 1. Next, we have what I believe might be the actual worst show. Funny how that works. The actually worst show in the history of Adult Swim, and that's Assy McGee. This show sucks. This is the worst goddamn show ever. It's so stupid. It's not just kinda ass. It is literally ass. You know what? Hold on. It's literally ass. And that's Assy McGee. It's the worst show. It has to be put there. I don't even want to talk about this show. It's so stupid. If you've never seen it, you're not wasting any of your time. Don't waste any of your time watching it. You're not missing out on anything. It's just the dumbest, most crude, stupid show ever. I'm sure some people get like a little kick out of it, but me personally, I was over it the second I saw the trailer for it. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. Ballmasters 9009. Not familiar with your game, sir. I'm sorry. I gotta put you down in that tier. Looks interesting. I like the art style. I like the name. It's kind of an interesting name. never heard of it before, so I can't really rate it. And this show as well, I can't even see the title of it. I think it's called Beef House. Yeah, Beef House. I'm gonna have to also put you in not familiar with your game. I'm sorry to you, sir, but I'm sure it sounds like some kind of Tim and Eric kind of thing, I think, which I'll get to my opinions about Tim and Eric, I guess, when I rate their shows, but that I've seen. But yeah, I've never seen it, so I'm not familiar with your game. Bird Girl. I remember hearing about this when it first dropped as like the reboot of Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, which, spoilers, I really do like that show from back in the day. Bird Girl, I watched a couple clips of. I think I saw like the first couple episodes. It's solid. I think it's the first one to go in solid. I think Harvey Birdman was definitely better, which is usually how it goes with these reboots. I heard that new X-Men cartoon is actually really fucking good. I got to check that out. But yeah, it's a solid show. Got some similar kind of comedy as the original. Changed the characters up a little bit. Not much to say about it other than that. And then let's get to a pretty interesting show, Black Dynamite. I made a whole video about Black Dynamite, about how I felt that the show has really, really, really good highs. It has really high highs, but it also has some bad lows, and I feel like the high highs definitely run their course pretty quickly. Like, it's one of those shows where I can watch the first few episodes and be, oh, this is great. This is one of the best shows I've ever seen. And then three or four more episodes later, I'm like, I'm kind of over this and don't really want to watch this anymore. So I feel like if you want to know more about my opinions, I made, like I said, a whole video about it. You can watch it. Put the link in the description below. But I think it's a certified banger. I can't say it's an essential Adult Swim show that you have to watch if you want to understand like what it makes Adult Swim so great. It's super close. Like, it's definitely near the top of certified banger. But I think I'm fine leaving it there for now. I may go back and change this list a little bit at the end, but for now, definitely a certified banger. Then we have Black Jesus. Black Jesus is a video that I want to make. I want to make a video about Black Jesus as well. I'm a huge, obviously, Boondocks fan. This was Aaron Magruder's second show after the Boondocks sort of ended unceremoniously. And I have a lot of opinions about this show. I think at the end of the day, it definitely has its strong suits, but I don't think it even comes close to living up to the legacy of the Boondocks. And I gotta put it in solid. It's not ass. It's not bad. It's not even kind of ass. It's a solid show, especially the first season. But I can't put it much higher than that. I think I'll put it over Bird Girl just because I've seen more of it. But yeah, I just can't in good conscience put it any higher than solid. And like I said, I have a video that I want to make about it that'll dive deeper into my opinions. But for now, just solid. This is something I have never seen before, so I am not familiar with your game. You look very interesting, though. Maybe one day I'll watch it. Children's Hospital. So there was a time period in like the 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, where Adult Swim was like really all about these live action parody shows, right? Like Children's Hospital was a parody of like Scrubs, ER, Grey's Anatomy, like these hospital dramas. There's that NTS SVV, whatever, which is like a parody of like Law and Order cop shows. There's some other ones, like Eric Andre's show was a parody of celebrity talk shows, right? They were really interested in like parodying popular live action TV shows, and Children's Hospital was probably one of the best. Probably like top 2 or 3 of those, live action parody shows. The show's super funny. All the people in it, Rob Corddry, Megan Ackerman, Rob Hubel, plenty of other people. I think Michael Cera was like not the narrator, but the voice of like the PA system that you would hear, just like random celebrities, funny people like that. Definitely a dope show. I'm going to put it in certified banger. I'm not going to put it over Black Dynamite, but I think it's definitely one of the better shows of that era. And then we get to a show that I feel like is supremely underrated, and that's China, Illinois. China, Illinois is one of the best shows of the 2010s, in my opinion, one of the funniest cartoons of the 2010s, and I really wish it got more love. I think it got 3 seasons on Adult Swim. I never saw a bad episode of the show. I don't know if I've seen every episode, but every episode I watched, I was laughing my ass off. Me and my dad both used to watch this show, and I loved all the characters, loved the weird world it was set in, loved the art style, everything about it. I think Brad Neely is the guy who created it. He has another show that he made that I'm not as fond of, but I definitely would have to put China, Illinois at least certified banger, and I might put it up to essential, one of the essential Adult Swim shows. It's just that it's so underrated. It's hard to even argue for it because I feel like so few people have watched this show and understand just how good it is. But yeah, I think at this point I'll put it at the top of certified banger. Definitely a great show. And then we have Decker, which is the first of the Tim and Eric, the 7,000 Tim and Eric shows on Adult Swim that I've actually watched some of. I'm going to put it in solid. I don't think it's great. I think it's okay. I think I get what they're trying to do. They're parodying like 24, like I said, all those live action shows, a parody, other like real live action dramas. It's solid. It's nothing to write home about. I haven't seen all of it, but who the fuck is watching all of Decker? Like, I've seen all of Decker multiple times. Like, nobody really likes that show that much. I'd put it at solid. It's okay. It's okay. But then we get to a show similar to China, Illinois. I think this is one of the most underrated shows of all time. I almost wish it wasn't on Adult Swim so more people would have seen it. I don't know what network would have ran this show though. Delocated. Might surprise some of you guys. It's in the GOAT tier. Delocated is the best live action Adult Swim show ever made. 100%, without question, it's the best live action show. I can't really explain what makes this show so great other than, great acting, great writing, great comedy, great cast. Everything about it is dope. The first season's hilarious. The second season is one of my favorite seasons of television ever. It's surprisingly got some good drama too, and good like real emotion and and serious moments. It's few and far between, but when it happens, it does it pretty well. They execute it really well. Yeah, if you've never seen it, definitely got to watch it. I quote this show all the time in my everyday life. Nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about because nobody's seen this show, but it's one of the best shows ever. And like I said, huge underrated gem of Adult Swim's back library. And next we have Dream Corp LLC. This is one of those shows that I really have to go back and rewatch. I've seen just a couple snippets of it, and a couple episodes here and there. Every time I watched it, I liked what I saw. It's a really interesting idea, dope idea, great cast. Again, this is a live action show that I don't believe was a parody of anything. I think it was just a weird ass show that Adult Swim had on its network. And you know what? I think I'm gonna put it on, from what the small bits I've seen, I'm gonna put it on certified banger. It's a pretty solid show, and more than pretty solid. Everything I've seen was really good. I just haven't seen enough of it to put it higher than certified banger. Eagle Heart is solid. It's okay. Didn't really watch much of it, but from what I saw, again, it was okay. Another parody live action show of like Justified type of outlaw cop shows. The Eric Andre Show. Now, some people I know would put this all the way up in GOAT tier. I really love this show. I think this is one of the most like refreshing, needed shows to ever come out. Just a show that completely goes against the grain. It's just weird as hell. It's dark as hell. It's funny as hell. Rips celebrity culture. Eric Andre's funny as crazy as too. But I'm gonna put it as it's essential. It's not the GOAT tier level, but it's one of the best and most important shows of Adult Swim. If you want to understand what Adult Swim comedy, aesthetic, vibe, all that is, this is a great place to start. It's one of the best shows Adult Swim's ever put on. So many classic, unforgettable memes and moments from this show that still get referenced today. And this show's like 10 years old now, which is crazy. I remember when it first came out back in the day, and I think it just turned 10 years old recently. So, great show. Fat Guy Stuck in the Internet's kind of ass. I don't know who liked this show back in the day. It always was one of those Adult Swim shows I would turn on the TV, see what was on, and immediately change the channel or turn the TV back off. Yeah, it's kind of ass. And then next, we have another show that I don't know. Some people might be surprised by this. Some people might understand. If you understand where I rank this next show, it's because you've probably seen it and you understand how good it is. Frisky Dingo is GOAT tier. I quote this show all the time. People love Archer. Archer's the show that blew up from the guys who made this at 2021. Like obviously Frisky Dingo, and then Archer was the one that they actually hit it big with. In my opinion, Frisky Dingo is even more funny than Archer. Archer's a great show, but there's something about this show that I think is just like I said, Archer's great. There's something about Frisky Dingo and his characters and its world and everything that just blows out of the water. Love the art style, love the animation, love the like pure conversational comedy of it. It only had 2 seasons and a spinoff that tragically got canceled because the studio went bankrupt, I think, or the whole studio got shut down or something. The Exticles, which I guess I could have put on this list, but because there's only like 2 or 3 episodes, I didn't even bother. Yeah, so 100% got to put that there. This show that I cannot even pronounce, not familiar with your game. I'm sorry. I know I'm offending somebody who that's their favorite show of all time, but I'm sorry. I'm just not familiar with your game. And then we get to Brad Neely. Again, I think his name is Brad Neely. It's Hard Nolan Scopio PPO. I was pretty disappointed by this. Like, this is the same guy who made China, Illinois, and you heard me just glaze the hell out of China, Illinois. You know how much I love that show. This is like a sketch variety show with the same type of humor, but it just, I don't know, it just never really caught on. And I think you can sense that and tell that because it only had, I think, 1 or 2 seasons, whereas China, Illinois had 3. Didn't have the same staying power. It's kind of ass. Unfortunately, it's kind of ass. I'd be down to watch more of that dude's stuff because I do think China, Illinois was funny. I think Hard Nolan, I don't even know. I don't want to say the whole title. It's just a stupid ass title. That show had some moments, but I'll be down to watch whatever he makes next. And then we get to an all-time classic, Home Movies, an essential Adult Swim show, 100%. This was either this or Space Ghost Coast to Coast was the first Adult Swim show I ever remember watching. And it was the episode with the marbles, and everybody was sticking marbles up their nose because the song told them to do it, and it was cool. And it was just so stupid, but it was so funny. And this is the first show I ever saw with H. John Benjamin, the dude with like the really deep voice that's in like Archer, Bob's Burgers, all that. I think these are the same people, or at least some of the same people who made Bob's Burgers too. This was like their first big show that got on like network TV. And yeah, Home Movies, all-time classic. You gotta watch it if you want to get in, if you want to understand like Adult Swim's history and like its best shows from like back in the day. Yeah, this is one of the best shows that they've ever had. Definitely one of the essential shows. So I'll put it on the essential tier. Next is Hot Package by not Eric Andre. I think his name is like Derek Bevel. He looks just like Eric Andre. I've always said him, Eric Andre, and that guy from The League and that cartoon about all the kids who are like having sex. What's that guy's name? It's like Jason something. They're all the same person. Some weird, ethnically ambiguous, light-skinned dude with big afro hair who just goes crazy in every show that they're in. They should be like, if they ever make like a Greek comedy, they should be Cerberus or some shit. But yeah, Derek Bevel, Hot Package, basically another live action parody, but this time of like those Entertainment Tonight or like E-News shows that just like celebrity gossip. It was real similar to the Eric Andre show, aired around the same time as the Eric Andre show, which I feel like was kind of its downfall because everybody just passed it up for the Eric Andre show. But yeah, it was a solid show. I wouldn't call it a certified banger, but I remember every time I watched it, I laughed, had a good time. I wish it had more. I wish it kept going, but I understand that, like I said, it's hard to compete with the Eric Andre show when you're just kind of like a not as good version of it. But yeah, definitely a solid show. And then we get into more shows that I unfortunately just have never heard of. Hot Streets, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with your game. Fairy Tales, not familiar with your game. Joe Parra Talks With You. Joe Parra is a funny comedian. I know that. I've seen his comedy. I've heard people talk about this show. I've never personally seen it. So I'm going to put it at the top of not familiar with your game because I'm sure it's good, but can't verify that. Next is another show, never heard of. Can't even read the title of because the thumbnail's too small. So sorry, not familiar with your game, not familiar with your name either. Laser Wolf, another show that I've heard is really good, but unfortunately, a lot of games I'm not familiar with here. I'm running back. I got a bad streak here with that. But now we get to a show that I am familiar with, and a show that I really liked because I remember I was a big Odd Future fan back in the day, and that's Loiter Squad. And Loiter Squad is a certified banger. The only issue with Loiter Squad is that the first season is incredible. It's so much better than it has any right to be. And then the second season is almost as good. They get Earl back. I think they started Loiter Squad before Earl was even like back in the group. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with Odd Future history, but Earl Sweatshirt, the great rapper, was not in the group because of some weird, and then comes back into the group and then immediately jumps on Loiter Squad and makes it, even funnier. One of the most iconic memes and moments from that show is him, where you've definitely seen it before.
Smell like bitch in here. All y'all smell like bitch to me.
So yeah, Loiter Squad definitely certified banger from those 2 seasons alone. Season 3 was kind of really disappointing. Not really good at all. You could tell they're just kind of phoning it in. I don't even know if it had a 4th season, but if it did, I don't even remember it. So it definitely fell off hard, but when it was good, it was really good. And then we got Lucy, Daughter of the Devil. Solid show. I believe another H. John Benjamin show. There's at least like 3 of these on here. Lucy, Daughter of the Devil was solid. I can't give it much higher than that. It didn't really last long. Didn't really have a lasting impression, but I remember watching it back in the day. Like the animation style is kind of interesting. And, like I said, anything with H. John Benjamin is probably at least okay. Mary Shelley's Frankenhole is another solid show. Interesting concept, interesting animation style from the same guy who made Moral Oral, which, spoilers, I'm a pretty big fan of. And I don't have too much specific memories of it, but I do remember every time I watched it, I liked it. So yeah, put it in solid. And then we got the first one that might be a little controversial, or I don't know, maybe some of these other were controversial, but this one, Metalocalypse, is, I think a lot of people would put it on the GOAT tier. I put Metalocalypse on essential. It's 100% an essential Adult Swim show. It's one of the most important and best shows the network has ever aired. But I don't think it deserves to be on the absolute top upper echelon of the tier list. It's really good. It's one of the best shows they've ever had, like I keep saying. But something about it was like, oh yeah, this is really great, but, and that little but, it's like 99% there to being like true greatness, and then there's always like a little bit of it that's just like, yeah, but this is kind of stupid, or this could have been better. It's hard to really explain without going into like super specific detail, and it's been a little bit since I watched the show, but I am super excited. I am super excited because I heard they're making a movie to actually like complete the show the same way they kind of did with the Venture Brothers recently last year. So super excited for that. I heard it's going to be like a big musical number, and the music, even though the most of the music you hear on this channel is more like chill, hip hop, jazzy, R&B vibe, I actually am pretty into metal a little bit, and definitely great music in this show if you're into that kind of thing. So yeah, I would put that at the top of the essential. It might be the most essential non-GOAT show on Adult Swim. And then we have $1 Million Extreme Presents World Peace, which, talk about controversial. Man, I don't even know if I should even talk about this. You know what? Sam Hyde is really weird, but this show was kind of funny. I'm gonna put it in solid. It's not ass. It's just a weird ass show with weird ass people with questionable views about the world. And before I knew their views, I thought they were kind of funny. I still kind of think they're kind of funny, but I just feel weird watching anything with Sam Hyde nowadays because that dude is out of his mind. And then we have Minora Team, which I remember being the first show. I remember being a kid when this show first came on and like got advertised. I was like, that seems like a really bad idea. I don't think that that's smart. That's probably going to offend a lot of people. And I was right. It was really stupid and not really worth your time. It's kind of ass. It's kind of really ass. It's not literally ass like Assy McGee, but it's kind of not that great. And then we have Mama Made Me a Sheriff, which I've never seen before. So I want to say I'm not familiar with your game, but I recognize that character. That's the cop from Mr. Pickles, the sheriff from Mr. Pickles, which I have seen. So I am kind of familiar with your game, and I'm going to go off of the fact that it's a spinoff from Mr. Pickles and say that it's kind of ass. I don't know. This reeks of Planet Sheen. It's the Planet Sheen to Jimmy Neutron's Mr. Pickles. And Planet Sheen was awful. So I'm going to put it in kind of ass, even without really seeing any of it. I just know it's kind of ass. And then this show here, which again, I can't even see the title of, but I got to say, not familiar with your game. I'm sorry. But Moral Orel, I am very familiar with your game, and I really like your game, honestly. It's one of the best games ever. I'd say it's even GOAT tier game. Moral Orel is one of the most shows I've ever seen in my life. And it's not up visually. It's not up, I don't know, any other way. It's up emotionally and mentally. And it wasn't always that way. It started out as just another parody show of like, oh, like the David and Goliath claymation cartoon from my dad's childhood. My dad is very old. He grew up watching that, if you even know what that is. But then season 3 happened, and I remember watching like DVD commentary from the creators, Dino Stamatopoulos, some really Greek, the dude from Community. And he was saying how the 3rd season, when they gave Adult Swim the episodes for the 3rd season, even Adult Swim was like, yeah, this is too much. We can only air like half of these. Apparently they wrote like 20 episodes, but only 13 ever got aired because of whatever those other 7 were. And the 13 that got aired were really fucked up. But whatever those other 7 were also, must have been even more fucked up, to the point where Adult Swim said, we can't even put these on television. So I can only imagine what type of subject matter they tried to go down and explore. But weird 3rd season apart, or weird 3rd season aside, it's one of the best shows ever made, in my opinion. No show tackles the hypocrisy of overly religious people better than this show. Religion on its face is perfectly fine. I have no issue with any kind of religion, any people's beliefs or anything, as long as they're not hurting or discriminating against anybody. A lot of people take religion too far, especially WASPs or, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And this show just eviscerates their whole life philosophy perfectly. Yeah, definitely it's one of the essential Adult Swim shows, but it's so good it has to be on GOAT tier. And then mostly for millennials. As a millennial, I believe I'm a millennial, gotta say I'm not familiar with your game. Mr. Pickles, solid. Weird ass show, very dark and brutal and violent, but it's not bad. It's just not that great. I've always forget it exists until like I see a list like this, like, oh yeah, that was a show that lasted for a couple of seasons back in the day. Can't really recommend it too highly, but I enjoyed it enough. The Superman show, never seen it. I've only heard about clips of it back when it was like first airing. Not familiar with your game, unfortunately, but I'm hoping you're good, because I think Superman deserves to have something good. I'm a Superman fan. I don't know why people hate Superman so much, but I just want him to have good shows, video games, and movies. And hopefully this show is good, and hopefully I'll watch it one day, and hopefully I'll like it. Neon Joe Werewolf Hunter. So this is where my bias from Delocated comes in. Neon Joe is solid. I want to put it on Certified Banger, but I'm gonna, it's Certified Banger. I can't even explain, the same way I couldn't really explain Delocated, this show even more so, I cannot explain what makes it good or what it even is, but I really like it. Maybe I just like John Glazer's. Maybe John Glazer is just dope as to me, and anything he makes I think is like the best thing ever, even though I'm sure anyone else would watch this show and be like, what the hell is this? But yeah, it's like at the bottom of Certified Banger. Newsreaders is basically a parody of like 60 Minutes or like political news shows. They do like heavy like think pieces and stuff like that around society and like modern culture and economics and socioeconomic trends and shit like that. It's pretty fucking funny. I remember me and my dad randomly watched like 4 or 5 episodes of it one night, and we were just crying laughing at some of the things. It's actually really funny, and I almost wouldn't put it in Certified Banger, but I feel like other than that one day when me and my dad just watched like half the show, I never really watched any or saw any other episodes. So I'm just gonna put it in like near the top of solid. It's really solid. And then we have NTS SVU, blah 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 whatever. It's solid. It's all right. It's like Decker, but without, you know, the Tim and Eric influence. Still haven't really talked about Tim and Eric. We haven't gotten to the Tim and Eric Awesome Show yet, but it's coming. But yeah, it's solid. It's just another Law and Order cop show parody. Off the Air. People have a lot of expressed a lot of similar memories and almost, I want to say, traumas about turning on Adult Swim randomly at like 1:30 in the morning and seeing some of the most disturbing, unexplainable, crazy ever. 90% of the time, I believe they're talking about this show. If you've never seen this show, it's impossible to explain what it is. You just have to watch it for yourself. It's one of the weirdest, most disturbing, crazy shows I've ever seen. And I remember I used to have a really bad insomnia problem at the time the show was airing. So I was always up at like 3, 4 in the morning. And I would almost wait for this show. This was the show that I would like fall asleep to. It'd be one of the last things I would watch before I fall asleep, which probably was not helping my insomnia, but that's neither here nor there. Off the Air is a certified banger. For what it is, nothing is like it. I can't quite put it on essential. Oh, maybe I could. I don't know. It's either a certified banger or it's on essential, because when I talk about essentials, it's the type of shows that like truly encapsulate everything that Adult Swim is, right? Just the weird otherworldly shit that Adult Swim put on its network that you couldn't get anywhere else. That's what Off the Air was to the T. This show was weird as but I don't think it had the diversity or the staying power that shows like Metalocalypse, the Eric Andre Show, or Home Movies did. So I think certified banger is where it should stay. It is a certified banger if you're into that type of thing. If you're not into that type of thing, avoid that show at all costs. And then we have Perfect Hair Forever, which kind of ass. For some reason, I always used to consolidate this with 12 Ounce Mouse. I don't know why. They're not similar at all. This is like a fake anime ripoff of just like corny, horribly made anime, which I should like because I love Shin-Chan, which I would have loved to put on this list, but it's not an Adult Swim original. But Perfect Hair Forever is kind of ass. Never really got into it. And from kind of ass to one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life, Primal is... it's essential. I was gonna say it's certified banger, but Adult Swim's diversity and being able to have these truly ridiculous, utterly absurd comedies, and then have these like visceral, brutal masterpieces of drama and just incredible like animated cinema like Primal is part of what makes it such a great network. And Primal is, like I said, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Gennady Tarkovsky is, everything he makes is incredible. And this is probably his masterpiece. It's probably the best thing he's ever made, which is saying a lot. So yeah, if you've never seen Primal, I have a video about Primal. Nobody watched it. It's fine. It hurts a little bit, but I care more that you watch Primal than you watch my video, but also watch my video after you watch Primal. Yeah, it's definitely essential. And then we got Robot Chicken. Talk about essential. I'm so tempted to put this in GOAT tier just because early Robot Chicken was like, I used to rewatch those episodes so many times. It's one of the best like animated sketch shows, which I'm not even sure there are many of those, like, you know, claymation, animation, whatever sketch shows ever made. It's one of the most essential shows that Cartoon Network has ever put on its network. I mean, there's a reason it lasted for like 15 years. Yeah, I mean, you could talk forever about it, Robot Chicken. There's so many sketches. There's so many hilarious moments. It pokes fun at so many things. Yeah, Robot Chicken is dope as hell. Definitely an essential classic of the network. Royal Crackers, never heard of you. I don't even know if I said the title right. Saw of the Mole Man. This show sucks. I hate this show. I don't even know if this show actually I don't even know if this show is actually that bad or if I just have an extreme bias against it because I had a friend who swore it was the funniest thing in the world, and every time I watched it I hated everything I saw. The only thing stopping me from putting it in literal ass or literally ass is the fact that I did kind of like the theme song. The theme song was kind of catchy. It's so off of the theme song alone, it saves it from being literally ass to just kind of ass. So, you know, good on you, Saw of the Mole Man. You did one thing right. C-Lab 2021 is solid. It's the start of the people who made Archer and Frisky Dingo their first show. Speaking of theme songs.
'Cause that is where you'll find me, underneath the sea lab, underneath the water.
Yeah, one of the most catchy earworm hooks ever, or theme song melodies ever. Yeah, love C-Lab 2021, but I can't put it much higher than solid. It's such a stupid, crude, just like taking an old show and then dubbing over the words. Yeah, I can't put it much higher than solid, but it is solid. It's a great show. And now we get to what I think is one of the modern classics of Adult Swim, a show that I definitely didn't expect to love as much as I ended up doing it. But I remember the first time I saw it and saw how funny it was, I had to show, literally, I showed so many people this show. So like everybody I know about it. And that's Smiling Friends. Smiling Friends is a certified banger. I think at some point in the near future, I think the second season just actually aired recently, like this month. Yeah, at some point it's going to be one of the essential shows of Adult Swim. Might even work its way up to being on the GOAT tier of the best shows ever. But I think that it's off to a great start. Again, another show that's hard to really explain. I mean, it's just so crazy and sporadic, and things happen out of nowhere and just have you crying, laughing at when you least expect it. Definitely a show that kept me on my toes. One of the most like refreshing and unique shows I've ever seen, especially like modern cartoons. Because there's a lot of really bad modern cartoons out right now. But yeah, certified banger, 100%. And I'm sure give it like a year or two, a couple more seasons, it'll be at least essential, if not on the GOAT tier. Love Smiling Friends. Soul Quest Overdrive. It's not familiar with your game, man. Sorry. Great name though. Great name. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Maybe the most classic Adult Swim show besides maybe Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but even though Aqua Teen Hunger Force got their start on Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which is pretty interesting. I still remember when that episode first aired, I had no idea that it was setting up Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's definitely an essential Adult Swim show. One of the most important shows of all time. Really like kind of set the network off, you know what I mean? Really kind of put it on, not a rocket ship, like it didn't go crazy or anything like that off of that show, but it definitely was one of the first shows that I remember people talking about outside of just like my weird household that watched weird stuff like that. But yeah, people love Space Ghost for good reason. Squidbillies. Oh, such a great show. So underrated. Even I myself underrated this show because I remember not watching it that often when it first started airing, and then at some point I finally caught on. Luckily I caught on to how great it was. Same people who made Aqua Teen Hunger Force, so you got to expect it to be at least solid, but it was way better than solid. It is one of the essential shows of Adult Swim. I don't put it quite on the same tier or the same like level as Aqua Teens. I think it is like a solid tier below, but it's one of the funniest shows ever. Dr. Steve Brule, one of Tim and Eric's better shows in my opinion. I don't know if I can put it certified banger. I didn't see enough of it. I saw certain clips of it that I really liked. Obviously it's, John C. Reilly's one of the funniest dudes to ever walk the face of the earth. I love John C. Reilly. I definitely think it's top of solid. Like it's up with like Newsreaders, Hot Package. It's definitely dope. But again, I don't think I've personally seen enough of it to put it in certified banger. But if anyone else who would puts it even higher than that, I could definitely understand, because what I've seen of it, dope as hell. Stroker and Hoop. I really like this show. I can't tell you why. This is one of those shows that I feel like if I asked 1,000 people about, maybe 2 would know what I'm talking about, and maybe only 1 other person would have seen an episode of it. But it's pretty solid. And again, it's John Glazer. I seem to like anything that dude does, so I put it in certified banger with the other John Glazer show that probably nobody else has seen or cares about. Really think Stroker and Hoop was a underappreciated gem. Super Jail. Talk about a great theme song. I think they had multiple theme songs, but I always remember the one that ended.
There's only one place to go. I'm coming home. Oh yeah, I'm coming home.
The show was all right. I think it's solid. I can't put it's close to being certified banger. I can definitely see if someone else would put it a little higher. I think for me, it was a solid show. I watched it. I like it a little bit, and then I would move on to something else. Teenage Euthanasia. I heard that the dude from Not Sorry to Bother You, I Think You Should Leave, is in that, so that's pretty dope. That dude's really funny. Tim Robinson, yeah, he's really funny. So I'm sure the show's funny, but not familiar with your game, sorry. Tender Touches, not familiar with your game, I'm sorry. The Brack Show. There's a trend here of spin-off shows not being quite as good as the original. Brack Show is kind of ass, and I'm sure there are people who love the Brack Show or have like fond memories of it. I just remember even as a kid, I was like, this is kind of stupid. What's the point of this? Like, just put Space Ghost on again. Yeah, not a huge fan of the Brack Show, but maybe I haven't seen it in forever, maybe like 20 years. So maybe if I rewatch it, I'll like it. But my memories of it don't do it many favors. Drinky Crow Show. Solid. Definitely an interesting art style. Definitely funny to watch the crow get drunk, I guess. But other than that, not much memories at all about this show. I definitely watched it, but I don't remember much of it. This and Mary Shelley's Frankenhole, I always like conflate together for some reason, even though they're two different shows. But I think they were on at the same time and would come on back to back. So I just kind of, in my mind, did the same thing. The Heart She Holler. Funny story about this. My sister, who's kind of in the film industry, used to work as a PA on set for this show, and she said it was one of the weirdest experiences of her life, and she would never do it again. It's kind of ass. Maybe that has swayed me because I haven't watched too much of it, but just off of that story, I just kind of think it's got some funny people in it, like Patton Oswalt is a great comedian, really funny guy, but it's just a weird show, which is saying something considering the network that it's on. Jack and Triumph, I think that's Jack McBrayer, kind of funny guy. Triumph, the comic insult dog, funny dog. Not familiar with your game. I'm familiar with those two, but not familiar with that show. I'm sure it's kind of funny, but The Jellies. Only ever saw a little bit of The Jellies. I don't think I ever watched a full episode of The Jellies, unfortunately. I'm sure it's okay, but again, I just got to say, not familiar with your game. Tyler, the Creator's hilarious as a person. Loiter Squad, the first couple seasons were hilarious. I'm sure The Jellies is solid. I would you know what? I'm just gonna put The Jellies in solid. Break my own rule. Exception for every rule, right? I'm sure it's solid. And then we get to a show that's much better than solid and continues that trend of just fucking weird ass Adult Swim shows, but in the perfect way. The Shivering Truth is essential. It's a better version of Off the Air. It's a more Adult Swim, more palatable version of Off the Air. And this show will definitely creep you out in certain aspects, but it'll also have you crying, laughing at other moments. More so than Off the Air. Off the Air was less about comedy and more about just being weird as hell. The Shivering Truth is about comedy first and then being weird as hell like right after. Like it's 60-40. 60 comedy, 40 weird as hell. Which is like the perfect ratio for Adult Swim. So yeah, I would put it, if you've never seen it, I literally cannot explain it to you. It's another show that is just unexplainable, inexplicable, whatever the actual term is. But yeah, definitely go watch it if you've never watched it and find out for yourself. And then we get to what I believe to be a true masterpiece and the most underappreciated show of all time. The Boondocks got its flowers. Aqua Teen got its flowers. Robot Chicken got its flowers. Metalocalypse I've seen get its flowers. A lot of these great Primal got its flowers. A lot of these great shows get recognized for being as great as they are. The Venture Brothers should be on the same level as Family Guy, The Simpsons, Futurama, Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman, Adventure Time, Regular Show, all these other beloved cartoons. It should be on that same level, but for whatever reason it's not, and that's always been crazy to me. It's probably the second or third best show Adult Swim's ever put on, next to the Boondocks and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It has literally anything you could possibly want in an animated adult comedy show. I can't say anything better than that. It's probably the best written show out of any show on this list, other than like the first season of the Boondocks. Definitely, if you've never seen the Venture Brothers, watch the Venture Brothers. What started out as a parody of like Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Johnny Quest and like Scooby-Doo from like the 60s and 70s becomes one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. And it's crazy that it just ended last year in 2023. It's so weird that show's over, because that show has been on since 2003, 2004, like 20-year run, and it just was spaced out so much, right? Like it would take like 4 or 5 years for a season to come out of that show, it felt like. But yeah, it's a great show. You are missing out. You have missed out if you're not watching that show. This show, again, I can't read the title, but I'm not familiar with your game. I'm sorry. Tigtone, not familiar with your game, but looks like an interesting cover, an interesting name. Okay, so we finally get to Tim and Eric Awesome Show. People love this show. I have friends who claim that this is like their favorite show ever, who swear by this show. Think Tim and Eric are geniuses, think they're the funniest people ever. I think Tim and Eric are really, really good writers. I think they write comedy for other people really well. I have never liked them as performers. Either one. I don't think either one is able to actually perform their well. That being said, as I said just before that, anytime they have a celebrity or another person or another comedian, another actor do their stuff, it's always hilarious. So because you have that like crazy spectrum of like, when they're on, it's bad, but when other people are on, it's great, I have to put it in the middle and say that Tim and Eric Awesome Show is at least solid. And I want to put it on Certified Banger, like at the very bottom of Certified Banger, because like I said, some of the moments of that show are legitimately fucking amazing. Like the Will Forte, anytime Will Forte's on that show is amazing. Rainn Wilson has a really funny segment on that show. Paul Rudd generating a nude Tane or whatever the fuck that shit was crazy. They have a lot of funny moments with other people, but I just don't think they're that funny themselves. But you know what? To avoid controversy, I'll put it bottom of Certified Banger. I'm sure a lot of people would put that as like GOAT tier. Nobody knows about this show. Everybody should know about this show. Titan Maximum is a Certified Banger. Maybe the biggest crime in the history of Adult Swim that this show never got a second season. It's the same people who made Robot Chicken, or maybe it's just Matthew Senreich, the guy who like co-created it with Seth Green. But it's like Robot Chicken style of claymation, but it's just one continued story with the same characters and everything. Dope ass show. Definitely, I don't even know where you could watch the show, if it's on HBO Max or not. But it's somewhere. It's definitely out there somewhere. Go find it, go watch it, and enjoy, and then be sad like me that there's not more than just one season. But yeah, definitely a Certified Banger. And then we have another show that I have no idea. Tropical Cocktails. Never heard of you. Not familiar with you. I'm sorry. Unicorn Warriors Eternal is another Gennady Tarkovsky project, that one of the few I've never seen. So unfortunately, I'm familiar with Tarkovsky. I'm not familiar with Unicorn Warriors Eternal's game though. So I gotta put it on that tier. Xavier Renegade Angel. Same guy who made Shivering Truth. This was his first show. Just as weird, just as funny, not as groundbreaking, I think, but definitely a Certified Banger. But Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell definitely gave me fat guy stuck in the internet vibes when I first heard about it. But when I actually sat down and gave it a chance, also realized that it was made by the Aqua Teen Hunger Force guys, I realized it's a Certified Banger. Great show. Highly recommend it. I think that it's one of the best live action shows that Adult Swim has ever had, and one of the few that aren't just like a parody of something else. Like it's wholly, unique in its own thing, which is rare to find nowadays. So that's definitely dope and important. So yeah, definitely a Certified Banger Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Then we have Your Hole with Michael Ian Black, who's a pretty funny guy, but not familiar with Your Whole Game here. So that goes there. And then we have the final show, which I'm sure people were either waiting for or thought would be mentioned by now. And that's Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is probably the most popular Adult Swim show of all time, which is crazy to think considering that it didn't come out until 2013, I think. And the amount of shows that came out before it, like the Boondocks, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Robot Chicken, The Venture Brothers, the Eric Andre show, I think came out before, maybe around the same time. This is probably the face of Adult Swim for most people. It's probably its biggest show ever. Like, it's the heights that this show has reached in terms of popularity definitely outweigh any other Adult Swim original show. I mean, it's in Fortnite. It's in Fortnite, guys. So
Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty.
Clearly, it's the biggest thing in the world. So for that, and for the fact that it also is really, really good. At least the first like 4 or 5 seasons were really, really good. It's got to go in GOAT tier. It's not personally for me, a show that I look back to and be like, oh wow, this like changed my life. But it is a show that is critically important to Adult Swim's legacy, and again is legitimately one of the best written shows of Adult Swim ever. It does comedy well, it does animation well, it does direction well, and it does drama well. It's definitely like a damn near perfect show, at least when it's firing on all cylinders. I think it gets a little too far up its own ass sometimes. That's every Dan Harmon thing, and Justin Roiland apparently is a psychopath. So, but I still think the show is undeniably great and has to go on the GOAT tier. So yeah, that is the list. I'm just looking over it now, seeing if there's anything that I would change. Hey guys, this is post-editing chill, just sliding in here right at the end of the video to say that kind of messed up a little bit, forgot a couple shows in the main list of everything. So most of them, shows that I haven't really seen much of, like YOLO Silver Destiny, which apparently was a show that I'd never heard of. But yeah, that would go in the not familiar with your game tier. There's also Tom Goes to the Mayor, which was another Tim and Eric show. It was, I guess you'd say animation. It was like kind of like these drawing cutouts that like talked with each other. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I watched a couple episodes. It's solid. It's nothing too crazy. It would have gone as solid. Harvey Birdman, I mentioned when I mentioned Bird Girl, that it's the original show, that Bird Girl is a spinoff of that show. Harvey Birdman is definitely a certified banger. Love that show. Love the comedy in it. I think Stephen Colbert was in it before he was like a big, superstar celebrity talk show host and all that stuff. It was back when Adult Swim was doing, very specific parodies of like old era Hanna-Barbera cartoons and things of that nature. But yeah, definitely definitely a certified banger. And then Mike Tyson Mysteries. I don't know how I forgot to put this in the tier list and mention this show and talk about it in the main portion of the video. Love Mike Tyson Mysteries. It's one of my favorite newer shows of Adult Swim, of Adult Swim's library. Even though now I guess it's been over for a few years now. But yeah, huge Mike Tyson fan. I'm a pretty big boxing and like combat sports fan, so always been a big Mike Tyson fan. He's a very interesting person with a very interesting story in life. Had no idea he was as funny as he is, that he could play up his own like assumed stupidity and obliviousness so well. I think it's one of the funniest things in this show. Norm Macdonald, great comedian, RIP to the god Norm Macdonald. Him as Pigeon is one of the funniest things on the network that the network has ever had. Yeah, all the characters were great. Young Hee, Marcus, the ghosts, the show was really good, unexpectedly good. I'm glad it got like the 4 or 5 seasons that it had. And yeah, to me, that's definitely an essential show of Cartoon Network, or specifically Adult Swim's library. So yeah, those are the shows I missed, just putting this in at the end. And yeah, the tier is solidified to me. Aqua Teens is the greatest show. I think the Boondocks is my favorite show of all time, but Aqua Teen Hunger Force is the greatest Adult Swim show of all time, 100%. I'm not sure there's even an argument against that, objective or subjectively. The Boondocks, Venture Brothers, Delocated, Frisky Dingo, Moral Oro, Rick and Morty, those are all in a league of their own in terms of impact, both personally with me and then I think also the world at large. Robot Chicken, Metalocalypse, Primal, The Eric Andre Show, Squidbillies, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Home Movies, The Shivering Truth. Take out The Shivering Truth, I think all the other shows that I just mentioned on the Essentials tier, 100%. And I think, again, they're just like one step below those shows on the GOAT tier. Shivering Truth is just my personal thing. I don't think anyone else would agree with that, but it's that good. Smiling Friends is currently on Certified Banger. 100% could see that moving up to Essentials or GOAT in the future. China, Illinois, so f***ing good. Xavier Renegade Angel was dope. Off the Air, Black Dynamite, Loiter Squad, Titan Maximum, supremely underrated. Children's Hospital was great. Dream Corp LLC, I need to go back and watch more of. Neon Joe is, again, that's a personal pick. Stroker and Hoop, again, a personal pick. I think Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell is definitely a certified banger. Tim and Eric has certified banger peaks, but you know, it really, with Tim and Eric on the show, I think it's kind of ass. And then solid tier is anything ranked in order there. And then, yeah, the shows that are kind of ass. There's not many, surprisingly. The Sheriff spinoff show from Mr. Pickles, Harshy Holler, 12 Ounce Mouse, Brad Neely's spinoff sketch show, The Brack Show, Fat Guy on the Internet, Minority Team, Perfect Hair Forever, Saw the Mole Man, great theme song, terrible show. And then Ass McGee is still literally just ass. You can't even argue against it. It's literally an ass. There's a lot of shows I've never seen before. A lot of them are on the newer side of things. It's like, you know, almost like pandemic era and then beyond. Just haven't seen them yet. One day I might watch those shows, but that is the list. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite Adult Swim shows? What are your least favorite Adult Swim shows? What are shows that you think deserve more credit, think get too much credit, or overrated, underrated, all that good shit that always comes with these tier list discussions? Let me know in the comments below. This is Chill, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.